Good morning, Facebook. Welcome to Real Estate Power Play on Tuesday. We got Marty Grisanti, we got Mark Monroe, we got Ronald Walker. Today, we're going to talk about what we should really be doing in our businesses. What the 20% of the activity that gives us 80% of the results. So that way we're not wasting time. That way we're actually making the money we want to make, and we were creating the lifestyles we want to create. So we got the man, Marty. Bro, how you doing, bro? Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
Good to see you, boys. I'm good, Ronnie. I'm good, Mark. I appreciate you guys. It was actually a lot of fun last week or this weekend. I was at a commercial academy for real estate, and I was in Orlando, Florida. So it was great to get out of the Rochester weather. But more importantly, I saw Mark for the first time. I saw Gabe, our other guy, for the first time. And, we really cut it up. We learned a lot, and it was a great event.
Nice. Out there networking. Mark, how you doing, my man? You're driving back.
Doing well. I'm actually, as you can tell, I'm in my vehicle, charging my car, and heading back home from the academy. Actually, I left a couple of days earlier. I went to Ormond Beach, hung out with some friends up there, and had a good time there. But yeah, it was a good time, and great meeting Marty, man. Marty's a firecracker in person, man. I love him. Got that energy. I like it. So it's good stuff, and a lot of education. Maybe we can talk a little bit about what everybody's doing at the academy. Spend a few minutes on that. It was very informative, and but overall great. How about you, Ronnie? It looks like you're doing something in your place.
Yeah, things are going great on my end. We're focusing on the single family. As far as my house, sorry, it's dark. I'm actually we're doing some construction in my office here, building it out. It's going to look super sweet when it's done, but we're about 3/4 of the way there. So my lighting and stuff is a little off, but we're rebuilding the studio and a work area and all kinds of stuff. So why don't you kick us off, Marty? Give us some of the hot tips, bro, from this last week before we jump into talking about the 20% of the stuff we should be focusing on.
Well, it's actually going to play in perfectly, I think, to the 80-20 rule, which is what we're going to talk about today, and why that's so important for business. Because, part of the things that Matt and I, we looked at when we were at this conference, because I was talking to my partner, Matt. He wasn't able to make it, but I was talking on the phone. It was, 80% of our headaches are coming from 20% of our portfolio. And that for us is, hey, is there a way where we can maybe sell some of these single family houses, which are at the top of the market right now, and put that into something that's going to be more effective and something that's going to be longer term, more successful for us. So it was really good. I mean, the high level of that event was that, for me, it was, hey, although retail is shaky right now, that might be good opportunities for us, right? That might be an opportunity because people are not talking about retail as much. The other opportunity was just the networking itself, talking to people that are doing the mobile home parks like we are, and talking about some of the other strategies they're using. So really, really cool event. And I was very much grateful that I was able to attend.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Mark, what about you, man? What were some key takeaways you had?
Yeah, it was great. One of the biggest key takeaways is like all these commercial guys, they're pretty much liquidating all their assets. They're just liquidating everything they see. A couple in some classes, like the retail sector and the hospitality sector, they're already seeing a high default rate on those classes. So that was a pretty much interesting key takeaway in how they're looking at it, and they're just liquidating, putting the cash, holding the cash, and then as everything starts to default, they're just going to go in there and start scooping them up like for 10, 20, 30 cents on the dollar. That was a pretty interesting key takeaway. But there's still full force in the multifamily because there's a shortage of inventory. But and I saw it too. Everything is like, with inflation where it's been, the feds have to do something to fix and slow the inflation down. So as you guys all know, they're going to be doing, they've already mentioned this year they're going to be doing 4 rate hikes. Actually, they're going to be doing a total of 7 rate hikes over the next 18 months that they've already announced. So they're already seeing how that's going to affect everything, with the supply chain issue it's just that the recipe is about there to happen. So they're all liquidating. So, but the residential, it's still there. If you're doing fix and flips, just be very cautious of, your exit strategies. Look at it. If you're doing a fix and flip, what happens if you have to sit on that property for a couple years to be able to move that property? So that's one of the things that we kind of have to take a look at now that we're going forward. So you just want to have your guard up, underwrite your deals. Like I do, look at all the land development deals I'm looking at to do developments. I'm already knocking off 20% of correction in some of these deals. 20% is your profit. So you just got to be a lot more selective. And, some of these sellers out there, they're still thinking it's, they're hitting the lottery. But that was a good key takeaway, and great networking, amazing network, amazing groups. But for me, there's always so many different ways to make money in real estate. So you got to be careful of the bells and whistles and the flashy, depending on what you want to do. I like the residential. I'm big on it because during the last recession, people needed a place to live, and I love storage facilities in mobile home parks. But again, I'm kind of looking forward to it. There's going to be a lot of good opportunities. Great opportunities coming up.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. We've been, I've been, and I think a lot of people have been expecting a correction for like 5 years, right? Like there has been this anticipation that things can't keep getting higher, and we've been able to ride the wave, right? There's this adage that says, if you have a terrible entrepreneur and the market is great, the market wins, right? You're going to do great. If you have a great entrepreneur in a terrible market, the market's going to win, right? You're going to get wiped out. And so really having a plan for whatever that correction looks like, I think is key for those looking forward, and not getting shiny object syndrome, but really saying, okay, what am I focusing on? What am I going to do? And what's the work that I need to do? So again, we want to jump into what that work is, right? With what is the work that we should focus on in the real estate game? So Marty, you've been to this conference, you're gearing up for probably one of your biggest years yet here in 2022. I know that you're slamming the phone. We've talked about cold calling. We've talked about sales. When you look at your company to do better than what you did last month and the month before and the year before, what do you find is the activities in your business that make you the most money? Like, what is it when you focus on it, you win?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for us, I think there's a couple things that are really critical for us to have the success that we're looking to have and to grow and to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward in this year. And that's, number one, it's really focusing on what is our main goals. Well, our main goals are, and I'm looking at them right now, so that's why I'm turning my head, but it's 20 flips, right? So 20 flips at a 35,000 average profit. And how do we do that, right? And the other one is doing 150 deals with our buyer, with our REIT buyer. So how do we do that? How do we do that? Well, it's really just through our marketing. It's through our marketing and through our sales. So how we focus on that is how we're going to get to our goals. And it's, Ronnie sent me a video. We both follow this gentleman, Alex Hermazzi, and he really made a lot of sense when he was saying, hey, it might take more than you think in regards to the advertising that you do and the marketing that you do, right? It might be more than what you think it should take. So we've gone now about a month in a couple of days in our 2022. And are we hitting our goals? Are we getting close? We're not. We're not. So we got to readjust. And that might be we need to be doing a better job on our marketing, spending more marketing, but it might also be cutting some of the stuff that's not working for us currently, that hasn't worked for a little while. So it's not just being, optimist about our goals, but it's also seeing the kind of the crap that we're doing right now and really looking at that, dissecting that, and constantly trying to build it better. So yeah, it's for us, our number 1, 2 things are, where are we marketing? Why are we marketing to it? And also, when we do get that lead, are we converting it, or are we letting it go and not really trying to squeeze it for everything we can?
That's good. You know, Tony Robbins, he has a quote that my acquisition coordinator likes to share with me often. He says, you know, all problems can be boiled down to two things, either a skill problem or psychology problem. And 80% of the time it's psychology. Well, I find that to be true, right? Where it's like, okay, when we're focused, we ask questions or we say things, or I do. Let me put it this way. I say things where it's like, man, I should be doing more. Right? Like, why isn't my business doing better? Right. And that's a belief problem. That's a wrong way of looking at it. It shouldn't be, man, I should be here. What's going on? Why can't I grow? Those are all the wrong questions, the wrong things to focus on. Instead, I should be asking, how can I grow this business? Right? How can I grow it? And focus, hey, what should I be focusing on that leads to my success? Not, man, I should have got that deal. Right? That stuff doesn't help. It only causes a downward spiral. It's limiting our thinking, right? We use the same tools that might have worked 2 years ago. We expect it to work today rather than picking up a new tool, rather than learning a new skill. And you know, the thing that I've been really trying to work on myself is figuring out, okay, what is the fluff? And what I found is the thing that in my business that ends up being the fluff is the stuff I actually feel the most accomplished with. I don't feel as accomplished when I'm picking up the phone, selling a wholesale property, right? It's like, oh, I just got to get this done. But really, that's one of the activities that makes me money, right? It's a key activity that makes me money. Sometimes calling a seller, it's like, dude, I got 10 other things to do. And we get caught up in this whirlwind and we get lost. I know that's what happened to me, where it's like, okay, I'm focusing now on these few activities, and it's like, okay, I get through them. It's like, you know what? I got to do more reps. I got to do more of that and not get sidetracked with, you know, worrying about social media or worrying about responding here or calling this person or connecting. It's like, no, let's re-push out that property. Let's call these people and get their feedback. Let's call this agent and see what they say. And if we can focus, if I can focus on that, man, our revenue activity can just spike. And that's what I'm focusing on in my business, right? Going from, okay, how do we take 3 deals, 4 deals, 5 deals, and how do we turn that into 10 in a month, right? That are closed. How do we take and then do that with 2 people, right? Or 3 people, where I'm not having to build this big team. How can we cut out a lot of that fluff? So, Mark, I'd love to hear yours, because I know you are very streamlined in focusing on, you know, the revenue generating activities, focusing on the activities that really matter. And guys, if you don't know, Mark has built a huge mortgage company, right? So he's had tons of employees, being able to manage them. He's then gone out of the mortgage business. He's doing a lot of creative financing now, and he's really honed not only the system, but what is closest to the money and being able to focus on those activities. So Mark, I want to hear, like, what are some of those key things that we should be focusing on that a lot of times we overlook for other lesser important things?
Yeah, I've been where you guys have been, like, you know, where Marty's at, you know, the goals, and you're always adjusting. And I've come to learn over the years, like, yeah, goals, I do set goals. I got goals. For me, it's more manifesting nowadays instead of like doing the goals. This is what I want. But I also, like, for me, I always focus on what's closest to the money. I mean, come on, there's almost so much time in a day. We can't get to everything. Just like, we got to do this, do that. I got to take care of the marketing. I got to do, you know, work on this project or that project. So for me, I always look at closest to the money and what is going to maximize my profit. If I can make as much on one deal versus 4 or 5 deals, you know, I'm not going to worry about, you know, this deal over here. Yeah, I could do the deal. I can possibly make a little money, but my time and energy, you know, how much am I making how much am I making per hour? Am I making $5 an hour, $50 an hour, $500 an hour? So that's kind of how my approach and how I look at things now. When I was younger, you know, I was just goals, goals, goals. And then sometimes when we, as team meetings weekly and monthly, and we're not achieving the goals, it's kind of, you know, it beats people up a little bit. So that's kind of my approach now, is like, okay, let's focus on where we're going to make money first. You know, let's do that. Like, prime example this weekend, you know, one of our we have 11 units, and we're into the 6th of the month, and up north they got hit with a snowstorm and they didn't collect the rent yet. I'm like, dude, we're almost a week into this and these people are going to spend their money if we don't go get the money. Sure enough, that absolutely happened. Meanwhile, we're over here on this other project. Yes, both are important, but where's closest to the money? Got to get those rent checks immediately and then go to the other deal. So that's kind of my approach. The 80-20% rule, it's been in business, and no matter what business is, you always got 20% of your sales reps do the business and 80% just kind of pull the company backwards a little bit. So you always have to constantly be doing your adjusting through the process. So hopefully that was good.
It was excellent. It was excellent, Mark.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, I was on mute when I started talking. I think that is really where the key comes in: is what activities drive the money, right? And being able to focus there, because that's what's going to influence how much money we make, right? Being able to say, okay, I need leads so I can talk to them, right? Like I need to be able to get leads to talk to. I need to be able to analyze and look at properties. And then asking what is the main activity in our business that makes us money. And if you're a single family, specifically a wholesaler, that main activity is making an offer on somebody's home, right? Like the more times we can make an offer, and I'm not talking about, I really struggled with this. Actually, this last week, I got into a big debate for about 2 hours with one of my guys. And the debate was, look, I don't want you to just throw out offers, right? I'm not a subscriber to just send out written offers. I am not a subscriber to that. What I am a subscriber of is have a conversation that by the end of that conversation that you are making a verbal offer and they're accepting it verbally and you guys are on the same page. So the paperwork is only a formality. But so that's how we work. That is like my process is we talk to people, we get verbal, we come to an agreement, and the paperwork is just a formality of the agreement we've talked about. However, if in my business, I never come to a spot where I say, hey, I'm willing to buy your property for $122,000, I'm not going to make any money. And so in my business, that is the core element of what we're focusing on is what conversations and what offers can I make and how many should I be coming to a week? And that's going to influence, okay, who should I be marketing to? What people am I marketing to that are getting me to this conversation? In the priority of conversations, right? Hey, I could either do new cold call or new lead conversations, or I could call my follow-ups who are expecting me to get close to an offer. We're switching that priority and saying, we're talking to the people who are most likely to give us a yes on an offer. And so that's what we're focusing on is really what are the conversations? Are they motivated? Can we help them? And if so, if they're motivated and we can help them and they really want to sell, that's where we're focusing. And then if we focus there, then on the flip side, we can turn around and if we're wholesaling it, call the buyers and say, hey guys, here's the inventory. Bring us your offers. Like, what do you want to buy this for? And then we work with them. And if we can streamline those two things without fluff in a wholesaling operation, guys, that's what's allowing, me and Nathan and even some of the stuff we're wholesaling to come in and make, we're doing a fairly big deal that we're closing on Friday, simply from that readjustment that in a 2-week period, just focusing on, okay, who wants to hear an offer from us? Who wants to sell their property to us? Let's talk to them only. And let's not worry about the other people. Let's just get them out and talk to the people who want to talk to us. And guys, that's been killer. I think that's where we need to focus on.
That's killer stuff. That's great stuff. I want to ask Marty a question, but Ronnie, that was really big and kind of breaking it down. So especially people that already, they have a small team, how you kind of explain that. But I want to ask Marty the question because I know in the past year, he went through a transformation in his business of like, doing a couple deals and now is exploding and hiring people. And like, how did you do it, Marty? Like, taking go back a year ago, how your systems were and your processes, and what did you do of the 80-20% rule to get you to this next level where you actually have come in the last 12 months?
Yeah, sure. A lot of it's my partner, Matt, and our other partner, Amber. But a lot of it too was that, hey, even though we enjoy getting on the phones and banging the phones, we need to be able to recreate that where we can have other people banging the phones for us and with us. And so, taking that plunge, and again, this was about 2 years in where we were doing it ourselves, and having someone or having, some virtual assistants help us with our cold calling. That was important for us. That was a big step for us, and that helped us. So I think that was a big change for us, was like, hey, although it's important because we know how important cold calling is, it is a very much numbers game. And can Marty do 1,000 calls in a week? Yeah, he can, but there's other things that I need to do as well. Being someone who's, a buyer of 20 that's doing 20 flips, right? I got to be on the site at times, right? And so, we have stuff that we need to make sure that we're doing as business owners. We have to make sure that our employees are good. So we have other things that we have to take care of. But yeah, absolutely. The thing that changed us was that, first of all, you got to be making the dials, right? You got to be putting in the work. You got to be doing the action, right? You got to be finding where the deals are. And that takes a little bit of time, but it's really it's a numbers game. It's how many texts are you sending a day, right? How many texts are you sending a day? How many calls are you doing in a day? How many conversations are you having in a week, right? How many texts in a week are you sending, right? And when you look at those numbers week in and week out, how many leads are you getting because of that? And if those are not coming in the way they should be, well, then you need to either ramp it up or you need to fix your strategy in regards to how you're talking to sellers. And, are you wasting your time with buyers that are not really buyers, right? And you need to be going through your buyers list and making sure that the people who are real buyers are the ones that are seeing those deals first. Another thing that is a really cool thing to do that's helped us is, make the phone calls to those top buyers. I'll tell you a number of times where a buyer will get an email of a property and go, and this could be a top buyer too, and they could say, how many other people are looking at this, right? That's a mindset that you don't want that buyer to have. You want to be the one that's really saying, listen, I'm coming to you because I know how you're going to close. So I want to come to you first. There's been so many times where someone does that to me and I'm like, now I'm more invested in it other than just an email that comes across my desk. So taking little things, it's a small little action, but it could be a big help for you. Like if you're getting something, if you have a really good buyer, make sure that they know about it first instead of just throwing it out there for everyone to see. Buyers know that. They're like, I guess I'm just chopped liver, so to speak. So try to take care of your top buyers because for us, our best buyers are buying 80% of our deals. So why am I sending it to everybody when the 20% of my buyers are buying 80% of my deals? I want my top dogs to know about them first.
Dude, I really like that. I think that not only do you want them to know about it, but you touched on the thing of activity, right? Like the activity that you're doing, the 1,000 calls a week, and the buyers, reach out to that one buyer, but don't just expect one phone call to get it done. And I think that's the other thing, that a lot of us underestimate the amount of work it takes to make money. I actually just put that quote on my Facebook. And what that means is like Marty's saying, hey, I'm doing $1,000 a week. The question is, people behind, watching this, how many dials are you doing a week? Well, my cold callers were doing 1 million a week, right? Like 1,000. And it's like, oh, that's a lot. That's why we're getting 40 leads a day. Okay, well, let's scale that back because maybe that might be a little much. And let's focus on a very niche market and see if we can change that number so I don't have to spend so much. Well, we did that and we were able to cut it back down from a cold call perspective. We were able to cut that in half, cut our leads in half, and our contracts went up simply by focusing on a different motivation and a different type of person. And so when you're able to adjust And when I'm able to adjust like that, realizing that, man, is my action really enough? And, Grant Cardone gets a lot of flack for a lot of things, but I think that one of the things I learned from Grant Cardone, and I'm not a huge, I'm not a Grant Cardone-ite, right? I'm not a huge follower, but a lot of times we underestimate what we're doing. We idealize the path, right? When we're thinking, we're like, yo, we're going to get a deal. I'm going to do some cold calling and I'm going to call these 200 vacant houses and I'm going to get a deal, right? And not realizing that, DFW has 70,000 buyers and there's 200 vacant properties in Garland, Texas, right? Like, and realizing, you know what, I might have to pull 10,000 vacant records and call 10,000 vacant records to get a deal, and realize that there might be 3 other people on the table, but now I need to connect with that seller and realize, hey, I'm here to really help you. And then you connect. And if your skill is low, if you're new, if your skill is low, you're going to have to do more activity. You're going to have to put more time in. If your skill is higher, your time is going to decrease simply because you're better, right? And this is what I'm realizing is, hey, there's a lot of guys out there. There's a lot of guys who are new. There's a lot of guys who are experienced. There's people who are really good at connecting with sellers. There's people who are really good at working the wholesaler game. And the question is, okay, where are you making your money? And how can you take care of your clients? And then how can you repeat that activity over and over and over and over again, probably 2 to 4 to 5 times more than you think you need to. And that's what I'm realizing in my business to get to, hey, if we want to get to, the goals that we have, which I'm not going to share here, but the goals that we have, it's going to take a different mindset. It's going to take a different set of beliefs. It's going to take a different set of core skills. And that's where I think we really need to analyze ourselves and ask, okay, are we doing the work that matches our goals? And are we growing as individuals? And so, Marty, or Mark, do you have something?
No, I was going to say maybe we can take the topic a little bit towards like new people, because we're talking about our businesses, about us. What can we give back to some of the people starting out in the business? Maybe like a 20, what's the 80-20? Because a lot of these people may be doing a 9-to-5 job. And Ronnie, I'll ask you this question. If somebody's working full time and they want to get into this, what is that out of that 20%, what should they be focusing on to be able to get into real estate and kind of start the process?
Yeah. So if you're getting into real estate, that's a great question, Mark. If you're getting into real estate and you guys want to get started, this is where you focus. Okay. You go and you find out where your list is going to be pulled. You start with your list and then you hit the most motivated of individuals. Okay. There's 2 places: vacant properties, and 2, you want to hit tax delinquents that are absentee owned. I would pull those lists from your city. I would grab your city. I'd pull those lists. I'd make sure that they're absentee owned. So you're talking to somebody who has either a vacant property that's not living there. And if you really want to make it, if you want to narrow it down even more, make sure they've owned it for at least 5 years. If you make sure they own it for 5 years, pull that list in your local city. From the time you pull that list, go into a text dialer and just text them. You'll immediately get responses. Okay. It doesn't really matter what the dialer is. There's different ones out there that you can do text messaging from. Send a text to all of them and then go back through and say, okay, I'm going to go to a nearby city and pull that city and do the same thing. And focus on sending those text messages and then working those responses. If you work those responses first, those are the people who are going to be most likely willing to sell. Now, other people might be hitting them too, right? But a lot of times that people forget is selling a house is often a timing issue. It's not so much a yes, I'm willing, no, I'm not, even though that's what people say. They just might not be selling today. They might be selling next month. They might not be ready. And so as you hit them and then you hit them again, be tactful about it. Don't hit them right away. But as you focus on that, you're going to get responses. Then negotiate on the property. Know that your solution is you've got to have conviction, right? Sales techniques are only 10% of the process. The questions you ask, the words you say are only 10%. If you believe that you can help these individuals who are in a vacant house or a house that needs a lot of work, and that realtors are not their option, right? Other people aren't their option, and you're their best option, either because you can connect them with another investor through wholesaling, or you're going to buy it yourself. You're going to have conviction when you're talking to them, right? You're going to be able to have that conversation and say, hey, I might not be the right buyer for you, but if I am, what are the decisions you're going to make to move forward? Like, what do you need to see? Right. And they're going to say, well, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Well, what's the lowest you're willing to take? And then you have that, and you come to that agreement that I mentioned earlier. Once you're there, you're 90% of the way through. But if you're new, that's where I would start. Start with people who do not live in the homes, people who've owned it for 5+ years, people who might be a little bit older and the house is vacant, and wait until you run into somebody with a real problem. And the key phrase is, hey, like, what have you been trying to do so far before I reach out to you? Have you been thinking about selling it for a while? Like, catch me up to speed. And if you do that, people will just open up, and they'll either say, nah, I don't really want to sell. Or they'll say, no, this is what I'm trying to do, blah, blah, blah. I'm living here. We're buying one right now. She's like, I'm living in this one. I want to sell this. I've got some kids and my husband left. And it's like, boom, there's a problem. Okay, well, what do you – and now you start talking to them. And if you care about them and you believe in your process and in the process of wholesaling or buying houses at a discount, you're going to win. And that's really the key factor. So if you're new and you're getting ready to start, that's exactly what I would do. And I would do that over and over and over again until I buy a house.
I would, for anyone that's listening to this, that's new, I would go back and re-listen to that, right? I would re-listen to that a few times, because those are real solid nuggets for brand new or even seasoned investors that are like, I'm a little stuck right now and I want to get it going again. Yeah, that's awesome, Ronnie. And, another way that I think newer investors can get involved if they are, working, a 9 to 5, whatever, is start to network with who you believe you want to emulate as investors. Hey, I really want to be like XYZ, or I want to do what XYZ is doing. Well, start to try to follow what they're doing, and they'll drop hints on what they probably need help with, right? So if you went and you saw Ronnie Walker and you want to do what Ronnie Walker's doing, well, check out Ronnie Walker's Instagram. Maybe he doesn't really have a lot going on there, and maybe you're really good at video editing, and you could say, Ronnie, I see that you only got like a couple videos that you post on here. Like, how about I do this? If I did a bunch of videos for you, would you be willing to, help me a little bit in regards to getting me started with investing? He may say no, but he might say yes. And so those are really key things, guys. Like, try to figure out what you're good at. Like, if you're really good at running numbers, and say, hey, is there any deals that you're just not sure about where you don't have the time to get to them? Maybe I could help you run the numbers on those and then give you a real idea of what you could offer. Again, maybe they'll say no, you're right, but come up with solutions instead of problems. A lot of times new investors come with problems, and he'll tell you the problem. The problem is, hey, I want to do what you're doing. How do I do it? That's a problem for me. I don't want to solve that problem for you. What I would love to do is you come up to me and go, hey, Marty, I know you really love this podcast that you're doing, and I'm really good at video editing, and I can post this stuff for you on TikTok and blah, blah, blah. But would you be willing to would you be willing to help me talk to sellers? Yeah, hell yeah. Let's go, man. Yep, let's get it going. So try to figure out what they're not doing right. And that's thinking outside the box sometimes to find out what that person you emulate is not doing, and offer them a solution and offer them a benefit. And they may be willing to work with you.
Dude, that was amazing. I love that. And guys, the more value that we bring, there was a quote I ran into that says, most people suck at what they do, but they think they're really good. Right. And if you're not where you want to be, it's because, and someone else is where you want to be, it's because they're better at something, right? They're better at what you want to do. Like if I'm better and I have more going on in real estate than another person, it's that I might be doing it longer. I might have a strategy that's different. Doesn't make me inherently a better person, right? It doesn't mean that you suck, or it might mean that you suck, right? And you need to get better. And it just straight up might. If I'm looking at so-and-so who has 30, 40, 100,000 followers on social. And I look at it's like, dude, they better at the game than I am. Right. And that's okay. And just realizing, okay, well, how can I emulate that? How can I replicate that if that's what I want? Or I might not want that. I might want something else that I'm building over here that's different. And so I think that when I'm focusing on my business, I sit back and I say, okay, what do I want? Who's really good at it? And how can I model that? How can I replicate that behavior? And it allows me to not just make the mistakes on my own to try to succeed, but I can learn from their mistakes, and I can shortcut. I can get from, hey, instead of watching 100 hours of YouTube, why don't I just go to this guy and say, yo, here's what I'm good at. Here's what I'm willing to do. Are you willing to accept that? And maybe you can shortcut the business by 2 years, right? Maybe you don't have to watch 100 hours of YouTube. Maybe you don't have to do that, right? One of the guys who works with me now, he came and he basically offered his services for free. It was like, look, I've been in sales for X amount of time. I don't need any money because I've got this business I built over here, but I want to build a real estate business and I would love to come and help you grow. Here's what I can do to help. He's been with me for a year and a half. Off of that, he's one of the main guys who's negotiating a lot of my properties, and he's learned a legitimate a lot about the real estate business by partnering with me. And we've done a whole bunch of deals together, right? I think he's done over 60 deals now with me, right? And so it's like, oh, dang, that's pretty sweet. But he came to me and said, this is what I want. This is what I can offer. Do you want to work together? And I was like, dude, let's figure it out and make it work. So, Mark.
So I got to jump off here in a moment. I just wanted to say a couple quick things. Both of you guys, absolutely. If you're new in the game and you want to learn the business and you want to partner up with a mentor, if you will, like another experienced investor, bring value to the table 100%. Whatever you're strong at, bring it to the table. And the second thing is actually start surrounding yourself with people like-minded as you. Start following those people like on social media. Find your local meetup group and get out there and network. And if you're not familiar where to go to your local meetup, go to biggerpockets.com, and it's one of the largest real estate investor foreman board. In there, they have an area for networking. Start networking in your area. Go to even the Chamber of Commerce, they do small business networking. Get out there and start surrounding yourself with like-minded people, and then absolutely bring value to an investor. And then they'll even listen to them, and they'll guide you what to do. And then folks, and use that 80-20% rule. Take that 20% and just go all in. But I do have to run. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll catch up a little bit later, and I will talk to you guys a little bit. Thanks so much, Ronnie and Marty.
Take it easy, man.
See you, Mark.
Here's the thing about networking. I think that a lot of people miss, right? There's all these little tips and tactics. And here's the thing. If you can be the most valuable person in the room, networking will come easy. Let's just be real, right? If you can be the most valuable person in the room, even if you're not the speaker, and you can figure out what your value is, you can pre-plan it, and you can go to the event knowing exactly what value you bring to everybody you talk to. Not only are you going to have a confidence, but you're going to have a reason that people are going to want to connect with you, right? You're going to be able to talk about it. You're going to be able to build a reputation. And the more value that you bring to a conversation, to an industry, to a buyer, to a seller, the more likely they're going to be pulled in your direction, right? If you bring the value and you care, right? If you bring the value and you care, bro, your cat is climbing up the that's freaking awesome.
Come on,
but if you do those two things, man, you're gonna win. And if you can focus on how to replicate that while you're talking to people, man, just continue to build those conversations, continue to talk to individuals, and you'll win this game. You just got to talk to the right people over and over again and not overcomplicate it.
What's a strategy, Ronnie, you think these newer investors or just people that are newer in networking can do? Like, do you think that they should be, first off, just showing up is important, right? A lot of people, they miss that step. I think, what are your thoughts, Ronnie? Like just putting yourself out there and letting people know, hey, I'm brand new and I want to do what you're doing, and just being, very humble and just being honest. Like what's a strategy you thought
I think it starts with, I think there's being humble. I think there's being honest is important. But I think people's questions often betray them. Okay. So I'm going to take a negative angle to this. And what I mean by that is, Mark Cuban says that you can tell a lot about a person by the questions they ask. And there's no dumb question, but there are lazy questions, right? There's questions that you don't need to ask Marty or me, that you can just look up on YouTube, right? There's things about the business that you can know before ever networking, right? And so being able to ask inquisitive questions, being able to ask deeper questions, a little bit more unique questions, I think really set people apart, right? I think that's one of the key things that's caused me to be successful is I'm not a super outgoing guy, right? I'm not the life of the party like you, Marty, right? But what I am is I want to know, right? I'm genuinely curious and I'm asking deeper questions. I met with an investor 2 weeks ago. I had fish and chips with him and we sat down and I knew a ton about him, right? I've talked to him, I think, twice on the phone before. I looked up a lot of his old projects. I've looked at what he's done. I looked at how long he's been in the business. I looked at his team and who works with him, his real estate agent. I knew a lot about him before we were ever there. So much so, I brought him a book on politics that I knew that him and his wife would like. I brought that, right? Something they'd be interested in. And in the middle of the conversation, I was like, oh, I'm glad you brought that up. I actually brought you a book about it, right? And I brought it to him. But when you do that, when you're networking, it shows that you are paying attention. It shows that you care, and it shows that you're a person of value who's not just trying to take, right? But you're trying to give. You're trying to, hey, I'm here to see you win as well, and I care about what you're doing. And then if you don't like the way I do business, that's cool. Like, we don't have to do business. We can just be friends. Or it's like, you know what? I like how you're doing business. Let's work more together and figure that out. And so I think being prepared. There's a book I'd recommend that talks a little bit about this, but the book's called The Art of Witty Banter by Patrick King. He's actually a comedian. And he talks about your conversation resume. Like, what are the things you're going to talk about when you have a conversation with somebody? And if you can pre-plan those, if you can know the stories you're going to share, if you can know the ways to be a little bit witty, if you can know how to connect and ask questions, you can stand out, especially when you're networking, right? People want to know that you're not just vanilla. 90% of conversations go the same way. Isn't that crazy? Hey, how's it going? Blah, 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 XYZ. But if you break it and you're like, man, what do you really think about the difference between focus and being open-minded? People are like, what? It's like, yeah, man, I the other day I was thinking about it in my business. I decided that I wanted to be a little bit more closed-minded and a little bit more focused, because I found I have shiny object syndrome. And as I got focused, I realized that I was neglecting the people in my company. So I got focused on really building relationships and adding value to them. And now my star acquisition dude is freaking killing it, simply because I recommended some growth to him. I recommended some YouTube videos. I mean, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with being open-minded? And then all of a sudden they're like, dude, what are you even freaking talking about? And then you connect, and now you guys have created a bond, right? And all that's true, what I just shared. Like, everything in that statement is true. But if you can replicate that when you're networking, man, you'll create some powerful relationships. I mean, that's how me and you became friends, Marty, right? Just being able to sit down and have deep conversations about what we're trying to accomplish and being like, man, you challenged me. You're like, dude, why the freaking heck do you care so much? Right? And I'm like, dude, that's really good. And being able to do that when you're networking really sets you apart. What about you? When you're networking or when you're talking to a seller, like, what are some tactical things, that you think are just power moves?
Ronnie, man, that's good stuff, because I think a lot of really good salespeople, they forget to give the answers because they do it naturally, or they've always done it that way. So they forget, like, oh yeah, of course you do it, right? And people go, no, I don't do that. It's like, what? It's like, of course you do the research before you meet somebody that you want to talk to. Like, of course you're going to know a bunch about them before you go talk to them. And people don't do it. And it's understandable. You don't know what you don't know. But guys, that's so important, man. And that's why I choose to talk to some people and I choose not to talk to some people. Because if they know something about me, like, hey, I saw the flip you did at XYZ Street. It looked really good. Why did you pick that? Oh, by the way, like, so when you're talking, so boom, you already know something about me. So I'm like interested now, right? You guys, people have egos. They want to know that you know. They want to. They don't care how much you know, or they want to know that you care about them, right? Like that's just ego. It's just what it is, right? And everybody likes to hear stories about themselves. Like, wow, you knew about that? That's crazy. So that's such an important tip. If you're talking to somebody that you want to emulate, really know a lot about them. Try to know as much as you can. And you can know a lot about somebody by just Googling their name, right? You could Google my name and see, hey, wrestler, or, whatever, rugby player, Lemoyne. You could see the flips. You could see the podcast. And if you don't bring that stuff up and you're like, well, I don't really know much about you. And it's like, okay. So anyways, beautiful idea, and do that. But that's also parlays into why and how to talk to sellers. Know a little bit about the seller. Like, if you're looking at a property, and you might not know anything about the seller, I guess, but if you know something about the property, hey, I know that's right by the Hilton School District. I went to Hilton. Oh my God, it's really close to where we used to play soccer. Did you have kids that went to Hilton? Yeah, he graduated 08. I graduated 07. Oh my God. Now we're friends, right? And that's very quick. And it is a skill. It's something you got to work on. How do you work on it, Ronnie? Well, you work on it through repetition, and you get the reps in. It's not going to be a great phone call every time you talk to a seller. They're not always going to want to do that. But the ones that do, then you need to capitalize because they're there for that. So the ones that are willing to give you something, Ronnie, right? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm 100% agreement. The people that are giving you pushback, you don't even want to talk to them when it comes to a seller. You're only, guys, I wrote out a simple, a simple framework. Okay. Like, we need to believe. I did this. I didn't write this out. I actually had my guy write it out. So I'm not going to take credit. He did a freaking great job. He said, basically, this is what he wrote out. All right. I'll read it to you. He said, prospects buy and sell based on how understood they feel. Okay. Sales is a conversation between someone who cares and someone they can help. Right? The seller needs to trust that you genuinely care about their problem more than they do. The person that cares the most about the seller makes the sale. And like, this is exactly what we wrote for our team. And that's what it comes down to. Ronnie, one more time. Well, all of them? Please. Prospects buy and sell based on how understood they feel. Sales is a conversation between someone who cares and someone they can help. So I'm the sales guy. I care about you and I can help you. And that's conviction, Ronnie. So when people talk about conviction, when people say, hey, conviction, you got to have conviction, that's what conviction means. 100%. When I'm saying, here's how you know you're having conviction. For me anyways, and for people who might be a little bit more amped up, you might be pounding your fist on the table a little bit, right? Yeah. Like, imagine just doing that, just a little bit of a rock and you're pounding the fist on the knee. Like, hey, this matters to me. Hey, Mr. Seller, I want to help you. Yeah. Right. And that comes across. That's conviction. And here's how I'm going to do it. Right here. This is what I want to do. I want to help you. And here's how I'm going to do it. I want to buy your house. And here's how I'm going to do it because I know this is what's going on for you. So here's what I'm going to do. And here's how I'm going to do it. That's conviction, guys. 100%. Well, and being able to not only clarify why you're with them. Hey, why are you thinking about selling? Like, what's going on? Like, hey, I'm looking to buy houses. I don't know if I'm a fit for you, but what are you thinking? You clarify it. Then, as soon as you find out what the problem is, you want to be able to bring it out. So you're having a hard time deciding what property to stay in, either this one or the other one that you have free and clear. Okay, how are you thinking about that? Do you want the free and clear property, or do you want this one? Do you want large cash in your bank, or just to get rid of a payment? Like, where are you at, right? Man, that sounds like a really hard thing to do. Like, how have you, right? And now you're caring about what they're thinking about. Okay, well, let's walk through this, right? What does that look like? Overcome it. Like, what does it look like that you've gone through over this time? What does it look like you want to see without this? What does it look like to be past it? Man, it'd be really nice just to not worry about where to live, right? And you just work on it. And then you just start talking, and you genuinely care about them. And if you can focus there, man, it's so hard to focus there though, because a lot of times we just want the sale. Like, let's be real. A lot of times we don't actually care. And I think that that's where the struggle is, even with buyers, right? I run into this where it's like, man, all right, I got to sell this property. And it's like, no. My buyer wants to buy 138 properties this year. I know that. Hey, man, I got a property that'll hit you towards your goal. And it's a pretty good profit. It's bigger than your average.
Oh, wow. How crazy and how quick when you just change the thought process and when you change the wording around. Now you all care about their goals, right? You care about the buyer's goals. You care about what they're trying to accomplish. Hey, I know you're 2 houses away from quitting your 9 to 5. I think this is the one that pushes you over the edge. Instead of, hey, I got a property. It's 50, it's 150,000. Guys, exactly. It's small stuff. And I think that's why we talk about in the video, the 80-20 rule, is because it really is a little couple of small adjustments that it can really make a huge, huge difference. But if you can't do those small things, then you don't deserve the big stuff, right? If you can't do the small changes in your company, you don't deserve the big goal. You don't deserve the big rewards because it's a necessary part, and it's what makes us better, and it's what makes us deserve those things. So I love that, Ronnie. Great.
Yeah. And what I've found, and I'm going to steal this from the guy that I've been listening from, but what I've found is the more that I focus on getting better, the more that I do the work and I just focus on it, the more the work causes me to grow and get better. And that growth, I might be able to output it a 5 on a scale from 1 to 10. But as I grow and I can output a 7, that between 5 and 7 actually gets me a significant amount more. It might be 7 times the business. It might be that out of 50 conversations I have, I might, instead of just getting 1 deal, I might get 2, and the second deal might be a whale, aka over $50,000 profit, right? So all because I'm doing the stuff that's boring that I don't want to do. I'm having those conversations. And when I have those conversations, hey, I don't want to call. I got 22 sellers on a deal that I pushed out, or excuse me, not sellers, 22 buyers on a deal right now today. I pushed out that are interested in buying. A lot of them kind of were like, hey, it's outside of my wheelhouse. It's not really what I'm looking for. I don't think the numbers are quite where you're potentially thinking. So I'm calling them back, right? I've called a number of them this morning, and hey, what are you thinking? Where are you at? Are the numbers coming back? Yeah, I had a pending property over here. You think it feels like it hits your goals? I don't want to call all 20 people back and potentially get beat up because of a misalignment. But you know what? Not only do I care about selling the property and helping the seller, because we've been talking to the seller for 2 weeks, but I also want to understand what they're thinking, that if we're off and we're wrong, I can take that back to the seller. Or it's like, hey, why doesn't this fit? Or does it fit? And let's come to an agreement. So final takeaways, Marty.
Yeah, I think the final takeaways for me in this conversation, man, have really been to be prepared. Bring your best foot forward. Be prepared. Be prepared to spend more time than you thought it was going to take. Be prepared to do more dials than you thought it was going to take. Be prepared to send more text. Be prepared to talk to more people than you thought it was going to take. I think that's the key, is just be prepared to do more than you thought it was going to take, because that's that wall that we have to get through to get to where we want to go, is what our thought initially was. Oh, it's actually going to take this to get there. And then that might not be for you. That might not be for you. Your why and what you're wanting, it might not be what it is necessary to get there, and that's okay. But at least know that now. At least know that now, because this game, real estate investing, is not for everybody, and it's okay if it's not. It's okay. It might be you're better as a business owner. You're better as an entrepreneur at a company. It might be, hey, I need more time before I even think about something like that. So those are things that just be prepared.
I love that. So years ago, I got my very first sales job at Sprint, and I showed up for the interview, and I'd been thinking about the interview for like 2 days, right? Like I'd been okay, I need to know everything about the company. I need to come up with answers to these interview questions. And I showed up. I found out later they weren't hiring, but they hired me. And I jumped into the job. I started going. The first month was awesome, excited. It was less money than I had ever made before, by the way. I'd made way more money before I got this job, which is funny. But and all of a sudden, I kind of got disinterested, and I just started just coming to work, right? Coming to work and doing the job, and coming to work and doing the job. And my best foot forward was trying to get the job, but then afterwards, my performance kind of lacked, right? And I stopped really believing in it, and it's like, oh, I have this job now. And I really learned over the last 10 years, and really in the last 2 years, that a lot of times we have really high expectations, right? Or anticipations or intentions. That's what I'm looking for. But we don't really have the action to back it up. And I decided about 2 years ago that I wanted to be the guy who showed up as if I was coming to that interview, but I wanted to not have the interview be the very best Ronnie. I wanted to have the very best Ronnie show up daily, right? I wanted to be able to come through for my wife, for my kids, for my business, for my employees. And guys, that's really, really hard. For my extended family, for conflict that people have, I wanted to be the guy who comes through. And that takes not just preparing for that interview like I did at Sprint 10 years ago, that one day, but what if you prepared for every single encounter that same way? Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect at this. By the way, I fail often, but that's what I aspire to. And I think if we, Marty, and mainly between us, I think if me and you can aspire to that, I think people will feel it, bro. I think people will feel it, and they will want to work with us. And the guys who are watching, they'll want to work with you too. Because people don't do that. People show up in their pajamas. People get up at 11 a.m. People sleep in. People don't read, right? People are vegging out on TV. If we can just be just a little bit better, that little bit better can give us a 7 or a 10x. And really being hard on ourselves of, you know what, I want to be that person, and choosing to be that. So that's really what I got out of the conversation is, man, I want to be more committed to that. So
I love it.
All right, guys, we come here every Tuesday. Marty, thank you for your time. Everyone else, thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate you guys interacting and watching with us. Until next Tuesday, peace.